everyone, it's Linda Hayes coming to you from beautiful Ambergris Caye, Belize. I have some breaking news today, and this is for people that have an unlicensed short-term rental in the country or have been told by some people that it is okay to rent things out unofficially without registering through the BTB. So if you're not already aware, in Belize, the rules for short-term rentals are exactly the same rules as they are for any hotel. So there's been an announcement just yesterday, Friday, September 23rd, and we knew this was coming, but it's actually been officially announced. So the Belize Tourism Board has basically said that as of October 1st, there's going to be a hotel tax amnesty program set up for any unlicensed tourist accommodation property. And this is really critical because there's only 1 month, the month of October, where you're allowed to do this. So I'm going to talk about the details in this video. So let's look at one of the past news articles that was on the website here. Cabinet approves hotel amnesty program for short-term rental properties. So it was actually approved by Cabinet April 28, 2022, and that was the date that they told the Minister of Tourism to introduce the legislation that we're going to talk about now that's been finalized. And the key thing I want to talk about here is what's really important. So the idea of amnesty is to soften the process for unregistered properties so that they can begin to pay all their proper taxes. So the government basically thinks people aren't registering because they'd have to pay back taxes, and that's kind of what this process is meant to fix. And then they do say here that they had signed an MOU with Airbnb to finalize an agreement. So they say that they want to get all the information to know exactly who is selling off Airbnb in Belize. So the reality, this is the sentence that's critical. So what the reality is that after this 3 months of amnesty that we'd be rolling out, we'd have the information to know exactly who is selling off Airbnb. So we'll be moving towards getting them into the system. So if you are not registered right now, the government will clearly know that. So what is the impact of this new rule? Well, basically, the amnesty program is meant to help people that are operating illegally with getting in line with the regulations. People who do not do things legally are subject to huge fines and penalties in Belize, so the amnesty program is a great way to get in line with the rules. And I'm going to talk about how you can do this. So now I want to show the BTB website here. So if you click on licensing and hotels, it's going to take you to all the information for hotel licensing as well as forms. And under the hotel forms, here is the amnesty application form, which you can just download by clicking on the Here button. So the form is actually fairly simple. It's only 2 pages long, and it tells you the deadline for the application for the amnesty program is October 31st, 2022. And then the deadline for the hotel and accommodation license form and supporting documents is December 31st, 2022. So once you fill this out, you basically will be required to do your hotel licensing so that you can become in line with the rules in Belize. So now let's talk about things to look at when you're buying property. So a question that you might want to know is whether a hotel license transfers to the new owner. And the answer to that is no. So some parts of the process are transferable, but others are not. Now, if you do buy a property in a resort though, it generally has a license for the whole development. So as an example, if you look at the Hilton inside of Mahogany Bay, if you buy one of those units, you're part of the Hilton Hotel and you're allowed to, well, of course, the Hilton brand will be the brand that's renting out your units. Same thing if you buy in Grand Bayman, which is now a Best Western. That's different than places like Ambergris Lake Villas, where I'm currently living. The HOA here has decided they didn't want to apply for a hotel license, and as a result, the properties are all long-term rented out or occupied by the owners. So whenever you're buying investment property, just make sure that you know the status of it and make sure you have enough cash flow to cover expenses if you need to go through the process of getting your own hotel license, because it can take some time. So the other thing to note is that the hotel license process is a little bit onerous, so you might want to get someone to help you with that. And some people say it could take up to a year to get this done, so it greatly varies based on who you have working with you to do it. And if you are buying property and you're not sure if it's part of a resort or not, that is a common question that people ask. If you go back to that BTB website that I showed you, if you search for example, for Mahogany Bay, you will see Mahogany Bay Resort, which is the Hilton, and then you'll see one house right now that is currently approved as a rental. And so you can tell there that the Hilton is a resort as a whole, but that every other house needs to be licensed as a hotel separately. So that's just the other thing that is important to understand. And then if you look, for example, at another property called Mara Laguna, you'll see that it has one license and it's all managed by Vacasa. So every property has different nuances to it, and you really need to understand before you make a purchase. So at every real estate event I've ever attended, they talk about how important it is to have a great team. And that's even more so the case when you're dealing in a country that doesn't have licensing of realtors nor an MLS system. So if you need advice or you have questions, please make sure you reach out, and I hope to see you in the next video.